I think organizational skills are going to be paramount as people work remotely more. It's been easier for us to convert and make sure we stay on task and stay focused when you're not in a cubicle, when someone can't walk by and see what you're doing. Are you guys doing anything to work on these organizational skills, and what's your kind of opinion of that moving forward?
Now that you don't have all the distractions, so yes, your productivity has gone up, but what we used to call soft skills have truly become critical skills in the workplace. Because now I don't really have the luxury of spending time with you physically to get to know you. I have to get to know you in a shorter amount of time and on a platform that offers a little bit of vulnerability because, for example, if I'm at home, you now get to see inside of my home, right? As my coworker in a space you never got to see before, which means that I have to have those organizational skills. I have to be able to know how to develop my team. I have to be able to know how to communicate effectively. I have to be able to have that executive presence. All these things that people thought, it's not a big deal. It's a huge deal.
What have you had to adjust in terms of succession planning because of what we went through in 2020? Was there an effect?
Yeah, there was a huge effect. Prior to 2020, when we were talking about succession planning, we were still talking about it at all levels, not just the C-suite, which is the traditional thought when people think of succession planning. Who am I going to give my business to? But we were really looking at how do we develop people so that they can move up in the organization? That's true succession planning. The pandemic really created a situation where not only did it force companies to look at how they were managing their teams, but also look at how they were promoting people in the workplace. And so that has been a very interesting conversation because they're realizing that they hadn't done a really good job in promoting people or moving people to different departments or however people move through an organization. Succession planning allows for people to really figure out beforehand, what do they need for their team? Like, who would be the right fit for us? And then how do we all move in the chain of the organization?
I know from my day job, I have to typically walk a client through, this is how you would gauge success based on X, Y, and Z, because most people are going to show you A, B, and C, and that's all fluff and easy to show you numbers. These are actually true results.
Right. And exactly what you just said is what has to happen in those conversations, is that we have to, so this is where I jokingly say we have to be the Yoda in the situation. We have to guide them through it. Because people are not going to know intuitively what's the right KPI, what's the right metric that I need to use, what's the right, what's the right performance metric, if that's, whatever it is that they're working on, they're not going to know intuitively. So it's really asking the right questions, helping them see what the connections are, and them then telling you what would be the increase and how they would be able to report it. Because if the number comes from you, it doesn't hold value. If the number comes from them, it holds value in the organization. But it's just helping them figure out what's that right number. What are the right things we need to be talking about?
Yeah, that has to be established because often it can be lost in just the big overall feeling of, well, we should be doing better. These are best practices. These are things we should be doing. But if we don't have a way of evaluating it, then who's to say? It becomes extremely subjective.
So let's say you have someone that's telling you that they really struggle with time management, right? That's been their struggle. They're really having to figure out how to do this. Well, one of the things that you can do is, as you're working with them, prior to that, you would really begin to ask them questions about the value of their time, having them put a dollar amount to that time. And that could be as simple as their salary divided into an hourly rate. And then what would be a measure of success if I saved, let's say if I said, well, if I make $10 an hour, we're going to keep the math simple. And then if I could save 10 hours a week from some of the things that I'm doing because I'm constantly doing my team's work. I'm constantly having to micromanage. I'm constantly having to repeat myself. So as a coach, you're already hearing all the problems I really do have, right? Those root causes of those problems. But for me, I don't know that yet. I'm just focused on, I'm spending a lot of time doing this, and then I've got a bunch of work piled up. So as you're talking to that person and they say to you, if I could save 10 hours, that would be amazing. You could then translate that into actual dollars and actual annual dollars, and saying that if we were to be able to get back those 10 hours with the work that we're doing, it would save you, simple math, $100 a week, 52 weeks, there
Right.
it is.
What I have spoken to people about for years is, trying to set up certain periods of the day where you have 25 minutes that you're focusing on A and a 5-minute break, or
Yeah.
50 minutes where you're focused on B and a 50-minute break. And I'm only going to do these video calls between this time and this time because I have to be able to segregate my day into being able to get different things accomplished. And to emphasize the importance of shutting off email for that period of time, shutting off social media. And it's amazing when you can focus on one thing for 25 minutes. Doesn't seem like a long time, how much more productive you are. So it's really owning your schedule. And then odds are you can probably work 6 hours, 7 hours a day and get more done than you were at 8 and have a little selfish time.
Yeah, and I love that you said that, Glenn, because I also think companies are beginning to realize that it's not about forcing people to work 8 hours, but it's looking at work as project-based now.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at, if you complete the work in 6 hours because you've, segregated your time and you're more productive, why should I have you sitting in the office for those 2 extra hours of really unproductive work? I mean, it's a waste of money for everybody. And so it's really getting companies and organizations to stop looking at work as, I just want to pay for 8 hours, and really focus on, I want to pay someone a salary, and then they can do the work when they do the work.